Hello and welcome to a bonus edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I hope to blow your minds. What is this video going to be about? Well, that is a very good question. I'm not even sure in my own mind quite how I want to approach this video. But basically, we're going to be talking about a cryptic crossword, and that puzzle is called 40 Across. And it's by Mark Goodliffe. Most of you will know Mark Goodliffe. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you're fans of Cracking the Cryptic. And of course, Mark's videos appear every day on the channel at 11 PM UK time, in which Mark normally in those videos is solving Sudoku. But this puzzle is about, this video is about cryptic crosswords, and in particular this cryptic crossword. And I'm going to talk a bit about its genesis and I'm going to talk a bit about Mark generally, I think, because a question I get asked a lot when people find out about the channel is, just how clever is Mark Goodliffe? Now, this is not a question I like answering because, as Oscar Wilde once said, there is nothing quite as funny as seeing your best friend fall off a roof. So eulogising about Mark's intelligence is something that is slightly anathema to me, but in the interests of keeping this as objective as possible, I shall try and be honest about it. I could point out the fact that Mark has recently come 20th in the World Sudoku Championship, and was the highest place over 50 solver. So basically the over 50, the best solver of Sudoku, who is over 50 on the planet. That's pretty impressive. But for many of us here in the UK, Mark's brain really has been associated not with Sudoku for a long time, but with cryptic crosswords, and in particular with solving cryptic crosswords. And Mark is the 12-time winner of the Times Crossword Championship, which is phenomenal. The way the Times Crossword Championship works is you have to solve Times crosswords very fast and very accurately over and over again, and you have to beat some very, very fast other solvers, and to win it 12 times is frankly ludicrous, but that is what Mark has done. So clearly very, very gifted in that regard. But one of the things that I think might illustrate Mark's brain, best, is actually this puzzle. And the issue is with this video is, in order to demonstrate just what's going on in this puzzle, I'm going to have to solve some of it for you. So this is going to be it's going to be a lot of things. I'm not going to solve the whole puzzle. And in fact, if you'd like to have a go at the puzzle, I will put a link to it under the video. I would absolutely recommend it to you. But I will tell you that it's monstrously difficult. And I want to talk a little bit about its genesis. How did it come to exist? And the answer to that goes back a very long time, to just after the time when I think Mark and I first met in around 2000. At a Times Crossword Championship, coincidentally enough. But in about the middle of 2002, we started to talk about this magazine. It's called the Magpie. This is the first edition of the Magpie, and if you look carefully, I hope you'll be able to see it says November 2002. This month is the 20th anniversary of the Magpie, and it is still going strong today. Mark has more involvement in it than I do, and we're fortunate now. When we started it, it was just the two of us, and we would have to fold the pages of hundreds of copies of this and send it out by hand every month. It was an absolute mission. Nowadays it's mostly electronic, and that makes it an awful lot easier to deal with, and we're very fortunate, and we've got some wonderful co-editors. So let me shout out AJ Moore, Chris Lear, Jason Crampton and Shane Shabankare for being such amazing editors of this magazine and keeping it going. But anyway, this was the first edition. And how did this come about? Well, that's a sad story, actually. There was a very well-known name in British cryptic crossword circles, Mike Rich, who was the editor of the Listener Crossword and also the editor of a subscription magazine called Tough Crosswords. And very sadly and suddenly, Mike died. And Mark and I wrote to his widow and said, look, we'd like to keep the magazine going in some form. Would you mind? And thankfully she said yes, and the Magpie was born from that. And you might wonder why it's called the Magpie. Well, that is a portmanteau of Mark and I's pseudonyms in the world of cryptic crosswords. So Mark is Mr. Magoo. Now his name is Mark Goodliffe, so you might be able to work out how cryptically he came up with that. First 2 letters of his first name and the first 3 letters of his surname. I was called Pieman, for no better reason than I was trying not to be Simple Simon. And anyway, that's how the name came about. And we were tasked with coming up with puzzles. It was much harder in those days to actually source puzzles than it is nowadays when we think about cracking the cryptic. There are some obviously wonderful setters of cryptic crosswords, but actually getting in touch with them proved to be harder than you might think, because the internet was, I suppose, less ubiquitous, and email was something that many of them did not engage with at all. But anyway, so we used to have to write our own puzzles for the magazine each month. And in this magazine, let me try and show you this. The first ever Magpie crossword is there, 40 across by Mr. Magoo, and that's the puzzle on your screens at the moment. And it's what I'm going to talk about in a moment or two. But what I am going to have to do in order to sort of demonstrate what's going on in this is solve some of the puzzle. So this is going to be a strange video, because this is not, I should talk a bit about the world of variant cryptic crosswords. The Times crossword, which I've already mentioned, is a hard daily crossword, but there is a whole world beyond the Times crossword of very, very, very difficult cryptic crosswords. The most well known is something called the listener crossword, and that's been going for over 75 years. Probably it's not far off 100 years now, actually. But anyway, that appears every weekend in the Saturday edition of the Times newspaper here in the UK. And it's, there are statistics collated. So every person who sends in a solution to every single listener crossword has their solution marked and assessed, and a record is kept of how well they've done. And the goal for many setters, solvers, is to be all correct for the year, something that's pretty difficult to achieve. Many people are very protective of their records, and with good reason. If you even solve one listener crossword, your first listener crossword is a massive triumph. Well, we started the Magpie magazine to cater for puzzles that were at least of listener type standard, really, and possibly to have puzzles in the magazine that really went beyond anything the listener would ever publish. So it is fair to say that the Magpie magazine, it is the place to find the hardest cryptic crosswords on earth. Still exists today. So if by any chance there is anybody watching this video who really fancies themselves as a cryptic crossword solver, then you can subscribe to the Magpie magazine. I will put the explanatory links under this video, and you can look into it. And actually, probably something that might be more interesting to many of you is that there is always a mathematical puzzle in the magazine. Let me find the mathematical puzzle that appeared in the first one. Where are you, mathematical? I know you're in here, because we always put one in. Now I can't find it. Oh. This could be a cut scene coming soon. I have a feeling, is it this one? Yeah, here it is. Gosh, this name brings back a memory. It's called Judy's in Every Port. Wow. And I'm going to put that there as well, so you can see it. It's by the constructor Radix. Now, Radix was a mathematician who taught at Eton, and Roddy Foreman was his real name. Fascinating man, very, very clever. And I don't know if you could see when I showed you the screen, but effectively there's a whole load of sort of algebraic answers and a Playfair square, so you actually had to get involved in sort of World War I code breaking in order to solve that puzzle. I note it had difficulty rating C, which means it's of average difficulty, and all you had to do is a whole load of algebra, solve a few cryptic clues, and then crack a Playfair square. So, you know, it's quite amusing. Anyway, I pontificate and ruminate, and I should stop doing that. So yeah, but many of you might be more interested in that than you are in the cryptic crossword content. But the first ever Magpie magazine featured this puzzle, which was Mark's offering for that puzzle. And it remains to this day one of the most memorable crosswords I've ever solved. And I hope that in this video you will get some feeling for why I think it's brilliant. So now let me talk a bit about solving these very advanced cryptic crosswords, especially if you're new to the subject, because it's daunting. It is daunting. Some of the vocabulary that's allowed is anything that appears in the Chambers Dictionary. And indeed, sometimes it goes beyond that. So you may even say 17 across is in the Oxford English Dictionary or something. So almost any word in English is allowable. Ludicrous abbreviations are allowable. Ludicrous dialectic words and references are allowable. So in order to get good at solving these, often you have to improve your vocabulary. But nowadays, electronic aids can really help you to solve these. So I want to just chat a bit about that to make sure. So if any of you out there are thinking, well, I'd love to do this, but I don't have the vocabulary, well, get yourself, here we go. Here is Chambers Dictionary online. That's a very good, useful resource. I hope that I think that's probably about fitting on the screen, isn't it? Let me just shrink it slightly. Oh, it won't let me. I can't shrink it any more than that. But this is very useful. You know, if you type in any word you like, let's type in the word abode. Oh, you can see up it pops. It gives you an explanation, all the etymology. Apparently it's also an obscure word for a presage. Did you know that? No, neither did I. So that is a very useful resource, as are anagram helpers. Things like this, which is an old Ross Beresford program called T, where you can type into this sort of entry here, any sort of, you know, if we type in cart horse, with a semicolon before it and hit return, it'll tell us all of the anagrams of that. So up pops the classic orchestra, but in unedited English here there's all sorts of other things that it can be, and the Oscar apparently is also an anagram. I don't know why it thinks that is a thing, but that is in Wikipedia English, whatever dictionary that is. So things like that will help you to solve the very hard puzzles. Now, that's all been a very long introduction, but what is going on in Mark's puzzle? It's called 40 across, and the preamble is always a preamble with one of these advanced cryptic crosswords. It's normally a very long preamble. Here it's very short. It just says the asterisks are the words of 40 across. And you can see, if we look at these clues here, you see the across clues. The clues are full of asterisks. So what on earth is going on, and how on earth are we going to solve this puzzle, given that most of the clues seems to have, well, every clue has been adulterated at least a little bit by the appearance of asterisks? And the answer to that is not easily at all. But that's what we're going to start to do here in an effort to show you what Mark achieved in this puzzle. Now here's the challenge, because although I did solve this, it was 20 years ago, and I have no memory of how to do that. So I'm going to start. I'm just scanning the clues here. I can have a look at the downs as well. Hang on, let me look at the downs, because I did print those off. Downs, there we go. So let me see if any of these look a bit more. You can see at the bottom here, these clues look a bit fuller than the ones that have got 4 asterisks in them. Right. No, not getting anything yet. And the idea, of course, is to somehow work out what 40 across is, with a view to, you know, then hopefully revealing what all this nonsense is about. Perhaps makes it understandable to Cassius' star. At heart is set in disorder. That looks like an anagram of... Oh no, this is going to be some reference to Cassius in Roman times, I think. So I don't know what that is. I'm really not doing very well at even spotting. And this is very much, actually, this is good in a way, because you can see how difficult it is. I am very experienced at solving these advanced cryptic crosswords, and I can't even... Oh, judo costumes. There you go. There is a funny word for... Is it goo or gi or something? And, you know, I can't remember what this is, but Jock Star donates judo costumes for... So I'm thinking this is something like goo, G-U-E-S or G-I-E-S. So let's go and have a look over here and see if we can find anything related to that. Let's have a look. Oh, no. Okay, that's kind of vile, used in the Shetland Islands. So it's not goo, is it? Is it gi? Scots form of give, but this has another meaning. Let's have a look. Ah, judo costume. Right, so it... G-I-E-S, and also, but look here, G-I-E, the first meaning of G-I-E is a Scots form of give. Well, that sounds like something that Jock might say. Oh, donates, right, so Jock donates, or I mean, those of you who are used to cryptic crosswords will know that that star must be something here, because Jock donates is not acceptable to indicate. You know, you could say Jock's word for donates, that would be okay. Or donates to Jock, that would be okay. Jock. I'm just trying to work out what on earth the star is. I don't know, but judo costumes definitely makes me think that we're on the right track with gis here. So that would allow us to put 6 down. We could enter gis if we think this is right. Hang on, I've got to enter some letters here. So there we go. G-I. This software is amazing because it allows us to do all-purpose things, and that gives us, obviously, that would give us a starting letter for 6 across and for 15 across. I don't intend to do the whole puzzle here, but what I do want to do is just to try and do some of it so that we can see what's going on. So 6 across is star, bracket, star, star, close bracket, star, and had beef. Right, I mean, had beef, it makes me think of groused or something, but I've got no idea how that works. So let's have a look at 15 across, beginning with S. Unhappy, that could be sad. Unfinished, star slash star, star hyphen star, finally fits. What on earth? Fit, spasms. Okay, no, but why is that unhappy? Fits. Unfinished. I mean, the problem is we don't know what these stars are. Unhappy. Solemn? I don't know. I mean, that's just impossible, isn't it? Okay, let's try and get something else. Let's try and at least get an entry that's somewhere around 40 across. Fruit of oak makes me think of fruit of star oak, star acreage first. That sounds like acorn. It would fit with 5 letters. I don't know why, though. Learner, that'll be L, using star, 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 identify what people star. It's just ludicrous. Ondings, is that even a word? Ondings and blank could be found in garden star, star, star. I mean, the best thing about this is that it's just, I mean, I think this was rated D in the magazine, E being the hardest rating, but you can see why this is hard. I mean, there's just nothing here. After silver ads rewritten, star wanting wok, with second shifty efforts. Well, rewritten sounds like an anagram, so I'm wondering if this is an anagram of silver ads somehow. So that would be 9 letters, but we need 11. Something wanting walk with second shift. So this, okay. I don't quite know how this works, but my guess would be after an anagram of silver ads, we put somehow E wanting walk is going to give us a letter, and then maybe S for second. That will give us our 11 letters, and it all means shifty efforts. Sales drives is the answer to that. Good grief, I actually solved one. And I think that's an anagram of silver ads. It looks like it is. And then it looks like we need star wanting walk to give us an E somehow. With second, so that'll be the S at the end. So we get 38 across as sales drives. Let's put that in. Sales DR. Oh, let's find the right. You can see I'm not used to typing letters. I'm used to numbers. Sales drives. Right, and at least this is down in this part of the grid where we might be able to get something going. So 35 down is, oh, that's the acrosses. I've got to go back here to get 35 down. Oh, where is 35 down? It's not even there. I've not managed to include this. I'm going to have to pause the video while I go and find it. Hang on. Okay, I went to find the clues. Here they are. So I was trying to find 35 down. So creep from Soviet intelligence gets star centrally. Creep. Soviet intelligence makes me think KGB or GRU. GRU. Creep from Soviet intelligence gets... Is there a GR grub? It could be a cheat. Could that be a creep? Grub. If you grub, do you creep? Doesn't look justifiable to me. GRU, I think, is... Yeah, I mean, the Military Intelligence Organization of the former Soviet Union. That looks very, very good, doesn't it? So is there any other GRU word that we could use here? Hang on, let me just... Let's put GRU in and scan down and see if we can see anything else that looks like it might work. Grew. Grew. Scottish, a creeping of the flesh. A shiver, a shudder, a pellicle of ice. To creep. Okay, well that's going to be the answer. Right, so let's go back to this. So, creep gets... Okay, so the central letter of this star word here is going to be an E. I mean, how... This is why this is so comical and so difficult. It's just impossible to know what on earth the star word is. But it will allow us to enter in grew. And that gives us, look, our first real entry into 40 across. We've got a blank U at the start. So let's see if we can, well, let's try 33 down. Here we go. Odd characters are replaced by Wisconsin musicians. Well, Wisconsin will have an abbreviation in the dictionary. It's probably WI at a guess. Let's have a look. Wisconsin, there we go. So WI. So what's going on? So odd characters are replaced by Wisconsin. Right, so this is going to be a 5-letter word in which the odd... Or isn't, well, I'm thinking it was going to be a 5-letter word in which the odd letters were replaced by WI, but of course that doesn't really work with a 5-letter word because Wisconsin is only a 2-letter abbreviation, unless WIS can be a... Can WIS be Wisconsin? Oh, WIS can be Wisconsin as well. Oh no. Okay. So, but that's quite handy. If that analysis is right, and it might not be, but if that would allow us to guess those letters into the answer of this, because they're the odd letters of the answer. So this is going to be the name of musicians. Whips whips aren't musicians, are they? Hang on a minute. Wings? No, Wings definitely, Band on the Run was written by musicians, but Waits are something to do with Christmas singing. Waits. I'm just going to look that up. If this isn't right, we'll move on to a different one. Oh, no. Waits. Waits as a noun. Christmas. What's this going? People who welcome in Christmas by playing or singing out of doors at night. Oh, a member of a Christmas band. Well, that's a musician. So could this be Waits? Well, then we'd have to understand. So what's going on? So we've got a word, a 5-letter word, the odd characters of which are being replaced by WIS. So all we would get from this is ridiculous. All you get from this is that it's the word that's the star in this clue is a 5-letter word, which is blank A blank T blank, and that's just completely crazy. There must be. Well, let's see. Let's see how many words there are of that nature in the world. There are WA blank T blank. There are 60 in core English and another 84 in edited English. So, and you know, if we look down the list of words in edited English, there'll be many words you're familiar with there. Cart, for example, that's a fairly well-known word. So you can see there's an awful lot of strange words, but there are also words, you know, like Haiti. I mean, although that's a noun, a proper noun, it's still a very well-known word. Let's see if we can find a slightly more latte. Everyone, I think, would agree that that's a very normal word nowadays. So that's you know, so there are zillions of words is what we're learning there. Okay, so that's, but we get a T in our 40 a crossword. Now 30 down. That's where we'll look next. Oh, we need to change tack. Let's go for 30 down. What have we got for 30 down? We've got kindly drink, but not Star City. Kindly drink, but not. I've no idea what that is, I'm afraid. 26 down. Star best male's rump in blank could be involved in semi-tropical blank. That's just completely and utterly ridiculous. There is no way to solve that. It looks like some sort of composite anagram, but when we don't know what the stars are, you can see how difficult that is. So let's try 36 across on the basis this would give us some possible at least letters in these down clues. So 36 across. Oh, this is the one that could be acorn, fruit of oak, fruit of star oak. Acreage has an A abbreviation. So if this was fruit of, if maybe star could just be a simple word like the, fruit of the oak, and the answer would be acorn. Acreage first, that would give us the A, and then star here, this star would be a word that means corn. So I quite like acorn there. That would give us, acorn would give us an R at the start of 37 down. So let's have a look at that. 37 down is one of the later down clues. Something first. Retailers of the Levant used this. Something first. At first? In first? Oh, at first. Oh! I've got this. Right. I've got this. If you take the first letters of retailers of the Levant, you get rottle. And rottle is something. I don't know what it is, but rottle is something. Let's have a look. Rottle. A variable Levantine weight. Right. Okay, well that sounds right, doesn't it? Right, okay, so I think this is some sort of stray. So that actually, this is the first occasion where I'm fairly sure I know what the star is. I think it's at. So at first, I think this clue is meant to read, at first, retailers of the Levant used this because they used it to, you know, weigh out their goods. So that means we can enter in rottle here. That's further evidence that acorn might be right. And you can see now, look, we're building up the ability to possibly have a guess at this. I'm seeing mutilate as a possibility. There's probably not a million words there that fit. I know what goes in there because obviously I can remember what the crossword is. But I'm just trying to explain how it's possible to solve this without, you know, without having a genius level vocabulary. So now if we look, we've only got 7 possible words from core English and a further 16 from edited English. So, and in fact I will tell you that as I scroll here, the answer to 40 across is definitely there. So let's try and get one more letter just so we can narrow it down. So if this was acorn, 30 down would have a C in it. So blank blank CE. Let's go back to 30 down, have a quick look at that. Kindly drink. Nicely would fit. Kindly drink, but not Star City. Not Star City. Ely is a city. Ooh. Nick. How can we turn Nick into a drink? Tonic. I think this might be nicely. So that would work as in tonic, which is a drink, but not two. So if that was, if the star was the word two, then you just get NIC, follow that with the name of a city, Ely, which is often used as cities in crosswords because it's such a useful collection of letters. And then we get nicely, which we'll put in. And then we'll use that. So mutilate looks still very possible, doesn't it? It's not the right answer, but let's change this dot here to an L and see how many options there are. Just 2 left, actually. So now, now some of you may now know what this is, and some of you may even know what's going on. And if you know what's going on now, I'm guessing your mind is blown. So it's been a 32-minute payoff, but I'm about to blow your minds. The answer to this is the word futility. So the asterisks are the words of futil, are the words of futility. Now you might think, well, what on earth, why is that the payoff? That sounds absolutely ridiculous. Is that what you're thinking? Are you thinking this whole world of variant crosswords is not for you because this is not a payoff? I wonder. Let me tell you about the word futility. There is a poem by Wilfred Owen called Futility. Let me share that with you for a moment. Here it is. I'm going to try and put it on the left-hand side of the screen as far over as I can. Wilfred Owen, of course, very famous war poet. It's a lovely poem. I'm just going to read it because I like reading poetry, and it's my video. So, Futility by Wilfred Owen. Move him into the sun. Gently its touch awoke him once. At home, whispering of fields half sown. Always it woke him, even in France, until this morning, and this snow. If anything might rouse him now, the kind old sun will know. Think how it wakes the seeds, woke once the clays of a cold star. Our limbs so dear achieved, our sides full nerved, still warm, too hard to stir. Was it for this the clay grew tall? Oh, what made fatuous sunbeams toil to break earth's sleep at all? It's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely. It's a lovely poem. What on earth, you might be thinking, has it got to do with this puzzle? Well, let's go back to the clues. Let's go back to the across clues. The asterisks are the words of 40 across. Well, what if the asterisks were the words of the poem Futility? How would one across read then? Scott's damsel poet, star, 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 star. Move him into the sun are the first 5 words of futility. Move him into the sun. Could that be part of the cryptic crossword clue? Let's come back to that. Let's have a look at 6 across. There's 4 stars there, so gently its touch awoke and had beef. Well, I thought the answer to that might be groused, didn't I? Because there was a G at the start of that clue. Had beef, groused. And if you take a touch of the word gently, that would be a G, just a dab of it, the first letter. And then awoke, well, a synonym for the word awoke is roused. And if you put G with roused, you get groused, which means had beef. And that's really what's happening here. Go back to 1 across. Scott's damsel poet, move him into the sun. Well, Wilfred Owen is the poet we're dealing with today. And if you were to move Wilfred Owen into a word for the sun, well, the sun god was called Ra in ancient Egypt. You get the word Rowena. And I'm fairly sure that Rowena will be justified as something to do with Walter Scott by the dictionary somewhere. Not there. Let's have a look at the appendices. Let's have a look at the first names. Let's go to the R. Let's find Rowena's name. Is it going to justify it or not? Wouldn't it be lovely? Geoffrey of Monmouth's mistake for Welsh. I don't know. I don't quite know, but how Geoffrey of Monmouth relates to Walter Scott, but I'm telling you that I think that the answer to that clue is, oh no, I tell you what it's going to be. Scott's damsel. In it's Ivanhoe, isn't it? In the book Ivanhoe, wasn't Rowena the damsel, the sort of the heroine? I think she was. I think she was. So that's what Mark's done here. And in fact, I mean, this is what is so extraordinary about this. I hope some of you are just shaking your head at the moment, because Mark has taken a poem that was written in the First World War. It's not changeable. You know, you can't adulterate it. You can't pick and choose words from it. The entire poem, he's used the words in order, in crossword clues, to create the puzzle that the answer at 40 across to which is the name of the poem. And that is the best example, well, not the best example, but it's an example of the mind of Mark Goodliffe that I thought you might like to see. And you can go through, I mean, if we go through this, you know, bit by bit, I remember there were so many weird and wonderful uses of phrases. I'm just trying to think. Let's what's going on in 13 across? We've got 4 stars in 13 across, which is so. We were up to gently its touch awoke, so it must be softly disturbed him once, as sounds of speech. Disturbed him once looks like an anagram of him once. Hang on, that's something like phonics or something, isn't it? Because I'm seeing softly here. That can be P in cryptic crosswords. And then if I disturb, if I anagram the words him and once, it's something like this, isn't it? I don't quite know it, but sounds of speech. I'm going to try. Let's try and use the dictionary to tell us what the answer is here. It's something like. I can't quite. Well, let's use the anagram potential. Oh, there we go. Phonemic. phonemic. Something to do with the sounds of language, sounds of speech. It's something like phonemic is the answer to that. And then the next clue, which is the next 4 stars, at home whispering of. So the clue becomes, if we replace the words in futility with the stars in the clue becomes at home whispering of inspiration. At home in cryptic crosswords is often in. This crossword was written in 1918, and Mark's taken the use of at home and said, well, that's very commonly used in cryptic crosswords for in. So I wonder if when he set the puzzle, he created an answer at 13 across that began with in. That's what I would have done. At home whispering, inspiration. Home whispering of inspiration. Whispering of inspiration. Inspiration could be breathing, couldn't it? In breathing or something. Let's go and see if that's a word. In breathing. In breathe is a word. Whispering, breathing. Just a breath of wind. It might be right, that. I'm not sure. But that is what he's done. He has taken the words of futility in order, as given by Wilfred Owen in the First World War, and converted those words into a cryptic crossword. And I know there will be some people watching this video whose minds will be blown. Welcome to the world of Mark Goodliffe. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic soon.